Let's go down to the Urban Homestead, Pasadena by the freeway. Right down there on the Urban Homestead, Jules and his family are working away. Come on down to the farm in the city, back to the future, back to the plan. Right down there on the Urban Homestead, loving the life back into the land. Oh, 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 help the garden grow. Singing, oh, 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 we've got to help the garden grow.
Welcome to the Urban Homestead Radio. We are your hosts, Anais,
Justin,
Jordanne.
We counted our tomatoes before they fruited.
Tomato failure? I don't know. That's funny. That was sad.
Yeah. It's funny. It's like, what can, like, I know there's animals are just, you can't beat animals stories, but it's like, what do you? I don't know.
We got a squirrel video. No, no. But the tomato story Jody was talking about was that every year we grew some tomatoes. Well, a couple years in a row we grew tomatoes down the wall here.
Down the wall of the driveway.
On the driveway, on the right side.
Between
there.
the heat, it was awesome.
And we thought we found the perfect spot for it. So we're getting a little cocky and a little know-it-all. So we said, this year, we'll do it again. And so I was bragging, Dad was bragging. So this is going to be our wall of tomatoes. Like we did every year. And it was a total failure.
Not a single tomato.
It was a total bust.
Dad was like, that was very humbling.
Because we told everybody, we were bragging. Last year was good. The year before was good. We're gonna have a lot of tomatoes this year, and this is gonna be our wall. You walk down the driveway and it'll be full of tomatoes. Total failure.
Dad he would tell that story. Yeah. Like never.
No guarantees. You cannot guarantee that will happen like it did the year before.
You're in charge.
Yeah, that was the one that said, a mistake you made is think a gardener's in control. And it wasn't.
Never.
And so that kept repeating. That was like 10, 15 years ago. But you cannot, just because it worked the year before, just because it worked 2 years before, the 1 year you guarantee it, not going to show up. And it was cherry tomatoes. How bad? I mean,
I know, not like beefsteak.
It's not like you're trying to grow
thing.
It was cherry tomatoes, or currant tomatoes, or something.
Currant tomatoes. Currant tomatoes, which are like a weed.
Yeah, they're like wild South American. They're about the size of that big, pea size, and they're a weed, and we practically guaranteed that it would be bountiful harvest. I don't think we even got a basket out of the whole driveway. It was brutal. So that was humbling, to say the least.
You have pest funny stories, I think. There's some
funny stories about pests?
Well, pests. I mean, I think like sometimes...
Spider mites? No,
I'm talking about like the squirrels and the mockingbirds who, there was one, I think there was one about this avocado. Guy would go up there and just like take one bite and then throw it at you.
Yeah, squirrels are bad. I don't get that. They're pretty things. Spider mites, you just want to blow.
Well, the mockingbirds go in, they get the guavas, and they want the nectar. So they pull out
They're eating edible flowers.
So they pull out the stamen or whatever, and they get the nectar, and then it's like, well, that's not going to fruit. So they just like, we lose guavas because.
Yeah. Well, then I found the squirrel in the pineapple guava tree just today, eating the flowers, and then he's also eating he or she is also eating the apricots. So they're this big. Guava's not even ready yet, not even set, and there's already.
You have a question? Yeah, there's a question. So usual life expectancy for a chicken or a duck versus how long yours live.
usual life expectancy, I have this, for the egg industry, the chickens are worth only 2.5 years of their life.
Profitable.
They're profitable, and then they usually slaughter them after that. The usual life expectancy for chicken is 4 to 5 years. I have this timeline in my head that if I lose a chicken after 4 years, it's just sometimes the way life is. The best egg layers don't live as long because it takes a lot out of the body. So when I do consultation about chickens and people say, well, I want the best breed, I'm like, okay, we're gonna have to sit here and decide. Do you want a breed that lives long, has a good life, is companionable, and is a nice pet, but doesn't lay a lot of eggs, or do you just want an egg laying machine that just is gonna die? And so the heritage breeds don't lay as much, but they live longer, they're healthier. So you do have to give up one for the other. I do have I think my chickens do live quite a long time. I've lost them at a young age, about 4, but they've usually had issues from the beginning as chicks, because some chickens just don't fail to thrive.
What is our average?
Average
6,
8.
8.
Yeah. But recently, average 8, and the ones I raised for friends, 8. Mm-hmm. My chickens.
Clementine was 12.
12. Bella's going on 13. Mm-hmm. Lucy and Stella, 13.
I'm losing track of time. So
yeah, no, I actually have to do that.
They're over a decade.
They're over a decade. I would say 13 years old. I can check it. So I would say my chickens and ducks live an average of 8. I usually kind of expect some problems after 4, but they've been living to about 8, and that has happened with chickens I have raised and given or sold to people. They were like, your chickens were the longest lived and
healthiest.
And I heard from one of the guys I sold a chicken to like 13 years ago. He sent a photo of the chicken hanging out on the porch with him up in Northern California. He's like, here's your chicken that you sold me. We're still hanging out with best buds. So yeah, I was like, that I hear from people like, your chickens were the best. You're gonna raise some more. We'll see. Yeah, that's 8 years is about my what I expect. Good age. But what do you? God, I am trying to think. There is stories from the garden. I just can't.
Or what? Like even like canning stories. I don't know if there's like funny. Oh well.
No, that was not funny. But...
Exploding kombucha. No.
Exploding kombucha. That one.
There is photographic evidence somewhere.
No, I think I deleted that. Dang. No, that was scary because that. You got to watch out exploding bottles. That was my bad, but yeah, with any kombucha, it was. I mean, it's funny laughing at it because nothing got hurt. I mean, yeah, the glass broke, but.
Well, canning, fellow canners unite. We kind of hold our arms up.
Yeah, I know.
Say all the scars, the burn scars, where the jelly pops. We all have these pockmarks.
And right here too.
Yeah, right here. It's like so when people can, we are like canners.
Yeah.
Right. All right. We got the scars. The
kombucha story is they weren't refrigerated and.
Well, no, it got hot really fast, and I put them on the counter. I should have put them in the cabinet because the cabinet, if they explode, the cabinet if they explode, they're contained. But I put them on the counter. But luckily nobody's in the kitchen. But I mean, I wouldn't have done anything. But it was still scary. It's like glass, shattering all over the place. So I had to cool them down really fast.
But we had a bunch of other ones on the counter.
Well, I had like a dozen.
So
bottles.
Like the rest are gonna explode. I think we're like peeking in the kitchen.
Yeah,
like,
we were just. I didn't want to.
So Nisi was like, "We're gonna have to get them. We're gonna have to cool them down."
Because I didn't want to lose an eye or anything.
What are you gonna do, right? So we dressed Nisi up. We put pillows on her.
No, Justin ran for ice.
We packed her in pillows. I think we.
No, I had to have the goggles because I was worried about glass going.
And we put something. We armed her. I mean, she was. There was photographic evidence. She deleted it. But we put pillows on her. We patted her up. We covered her neck.
Because all you need is a glass going down
into
your
but
neck.
it was. You have to admit,
it was. Yeah.
And so Nisi creeps into the kitchen.
I was terrified.
Because if you move the bottles.
Yeah, I was terrified.
They would explode.
Like if I was terrified that if I reached for one, it just.
Yeah.
So you had gloves, goggles.
Yeah, we put these. We have gloves that like a dog. If a dog bites, it can't get through.
The fireproof.
Oh, the fireproof. Yeah.
The fireproof.
So we suited Nisi up and we hid behind the door. And
so I had
Nisi
to-
went bravely in to
And
save the
you
rest
put
of
them
us.
in a Rubbermaid, right?
I put them in a
And
Rubbermaid
and then we
with
put them in the
ice.
fridge.
No, you went to got some ice and we cooled them down.
And then they went in the fridge.
Yeah.
And never again they will sit on my counter. They're always put in cabinet.
Well, things like that,
Lesson learned.
it changes you. You know,
lesson learned.
you avoid disaster, and then you're like, at that point, it changes the way you interact with stuff. You know.
I mean, you hear about bottles exploding, but then literally explodes, and you're like, oh, stupid.
Well,
Yeah.
because I think I was in the kitchen like half an hour ago, sitting
Yeah.
right by the counter, and so
Yeah.
it was kind of like,
Yep.
I would have been, flying glass, but and there was sticky mess everywhere.
So that did not happen ever again.
Nope.
But then I don't know if there's any funny canning besides kombucha. I mean, any canning stories? Besides for my very first time at Marmalade.
Oh no, here's your funny canning jar. Here's your funny canning story. You think you're so smart. You can hundreds of jars in the spring. And you're like, I don't know what they are.
Oh, yeah.
And you
And
put them
then-
up in the beautiful canning jars
And they
until it
didn't
comes
label
time
it.
to eat them. And we're
Yeah.
just sitting there going,
What is it?
what is it? She was like, I can't remember. I'm like, you said you remember. Well, I thought I'd remember. We're sitting there like turning it upside down. Like, I think it's, and we're like looking for jelly. We open up, nope, that's not jelly.
So label.
So now Nisi's like, even though you think you remember, you never will. Label them. Always label them. Because there's some things in there that were unidentified. And you're like, to the life of us, we couldn't figure out what was it. Always
When in
label.
doubt, throw it out. That's my motto.
Oh, you thought you were going to kill us all. with botulism.
Oh, well, yeah, because, that's what they say. When you first started canning, was it 12 years ago?
So old or not?
Nisi was, not long.
Maybe it was older. Yeah, no, maybe it was 15 years
Anais
ago.
was convinced she was going to kill us all.
Yeah, but then I figured, because they said, the B word, botulism. So I was like, oh, we're all going to die. But then I was like, well, why have canning books? People can. There's people still alive, so I should try it. So I did.
Rest is history.
Yeah. I stuck to the safe stuff, though. Jam, we boil the heck crap out of it, so nothing's going to live in it. And vinegar.
We have,
What'd you do? 1,000 jar? 1,000?
Okay, yeah, I did keep track one year. I think it was like
1,000
I put up
quarts
almost-
or 1,000 jars.
I'm put up almost over 800 to 1,000 jars. So I put up. Yeah. So that was a year I kept
That was
track.
a good year.
It was
and then
beautiful.
we have the sisterhood of the canning, where every once in a while you make a mistake. And like my friend gave me some kumquat syrup, and on top of it says kumquat syrup. Don't judge, we all been there. You want to explain what that is?
Yeah, it's just a jelly or a jam that didn't, or marmalade that didn't set. So
It's
I always
syrup.
tell people when, at the canning class, said, hey, it's not lost, just call it syrup. It's all good. They'll never know. Just call it syrup and put it on your
Ice cream.
yogurt or ice cream, and it's all good. So, yeah, it took me a while, like I said, for canning. I don't do it with pectin. I think I've gone 10 years without using pectin in my jams, and it saves money, and it's just fruit and sugar, but it takes longer. So, if you buy pectin at the store, it's up to for about a minute you can have jam in a minute. But without pectin, you're using just the sugar and the fruit, and you do a slow cook method on the, or not slow
It has
cook.
to be
Yeah,
exact.
it's
It has to be
high.
exact.
It's high heat, but it's slower cooked, and it's about, I'd say you get gel setting about 20 minutes.
Yeah, but you have to be exact or you can burn it. Or if
Yeah,
it's too
so-
early, then you make syrup.
Yeah, you make syrup. You can get, so I've got it actually to the point where I don't even need a thermometer anymore. I do my batch. I know how thick it is. I know what the time will be, what it looks like. It even sounds different, and I'll know it's set. I don't even need a thermometer anymore. So you just get good at it, and and I like that method better because it feels like it's like a slow food, slow cooking. So you're more in tune with like
But
your
what's wrong
jam.
with pectin?
Pectin, well, is mild. It's like some dextrose, and it's full
Modern
of GMO.
pectin.
Yeah,
Modern pectin.
Yeah, modern pectin. There's a more natural pectin, but
Apple peels. or
yeah,
something.
apple peels you can make your own. But you don't need it. I mean, most fruit contains pectin.
Easy
but-
for the school kids because
Yeah.
it's quicker.
Yeah, when I do classes, I'll do pectin for the kids because I have to do something within half an hour. So, but I did, when I teach class, sometimes when I teach the jam making class, sometimes but then recently I would think, what? I know this, but don't ever double your fruit or your jam batch, but don't double it in the same pot. So if you want to double it or triple it or quadruple it, you do it in different pots. You do it in the different pots, because what happens is if you double a recipe of jam in a pot or triple it, you're having to cook a much denser thing. And so instead of 20 minutes, it could be 40 minutes or 60 minutes. And that nice red strawberry jam actually will turn brown, because what happens, you're just cooking it and cooking it and cooking it. So what I do is I do my batch, and if I double or triple it, I just do it in 3 different pots. So I'll do 1 batch, 2 batches. So sometimes, or most of the time in the kitchen with the 4 burners, I'll have my water bath going and 3 other pots of jam simmering. So it could be, batch of strawberry balsamic, and a batch of strawberry Meyer lemon. So I'll have 3 batches, or I can just do triple batches of just plain strawberry, but I'll do in 3 separate pots. So there's little tips and tricks that I learned along the way, and I'll teach them in my class. But yeah, that's my jam story. I
find it humorous that you teach a class, but you did try recently to do it again, didn't you?
No, that was, as I said, within a couple of years ago. Yeah, but now it's been about 4 years.
Yeah.
But I keep repeating that same story. Like a couple of years ago, but now it's like 4 years ago. But, yeah, and my strawberry jam. So we ate it.
It tastes good.
It tastes good. It just looked
for
brown.
the market. People, the American consumers used to,
color.
Fake color.
Well, the one they said what's. They want to know what's in Anais' jam. It says
fruit, sugar,
and
water, and a little bit of lemon juice.
One of the questions is, can you do, one of the most questions asked about jam is, can you do jam without sugar? Yes, you can do jam without sugar, but you can't put it up, meaning you can't can it. And
sugar is a preservative.
So sugar is a preservative. You can make refrigerator jam, but if you're putting up for, water bathing, you definitely need a sugar agent.
You can make it with honey, but it's a different way of doing it.
Yeah,
so honey and sugar are preservatives. Mm-hmm. But you can't do like fake sugar like stevia or something.
But my first batch of marmalades were brown. I remember that.
And couldn't get out of the jar.
And couldn't get them out of the jar because I overcooked them. So
made candy.
Marmalade is a little bit more involved than just jam making. So like jam making, you just mash the strawberries, add the sugar, boil the heck out of it. Whereas marmalade is, I'd say, 2 more extra steps. So you're dealing with rind and you're dealing with peel and stuff like that. So what I done is, there's so many ways to make marmalade, but there was one way where one woman, she peeled the citrus, then julienne the little peels, and then took the pith and the rind, and then put it in a cheesecloth and boiled that down with the juice. And I was like, oh man, I don't have time for that. So I found a lady, I can't remember, it was on some British thing where they actually cut the whole fruit. They use the whole fruit except for the seeds. So from now on, I cut the whole fruit and I boil it down. And I mean, it makes chunkier marmalade, but if you do it right and you soak them and you get the skins like a little softer, tender.
It's actually better. It tastes better because I wasn't a big fan of marmalade, but I'll eat Anais' marmalade.
Yeah, so I came up with that.
It's really good.
Up with that method, but it takes I do it. It's overnight method. So I cut the fruit, boil the peels, or boil the chopped fruit down, let it sit with the sugar overnight, and then boil it down in the morning. So, or you can do it in the morning and then boil it down in the afternoon. So it just takes a little longer, but it's worth it. So, but now my marmalades are beautiful. So they actually look like marmalades.
I remember though about, not so much like garden stories, but just trial and error, like finding the perfect, too low, too high. Do you remember that with the pansies? I think one year it was like you went down and it was like, okay, too low. Then you go higher and it was like too high. And then you came the perfect. Yeah. Sometimes I watch Justin plant. He's just like, he knows how to do it perfectly. Just like the right.
No, I think it was we're in the edible flower business, and we try to get a jump on the season. So get an early jump on August and it's brutal in August heat-wise. So we jumped the gun and bought a bunch of pansies, and we've got all these containers ready, earth boxes and planters ready, and we planted them all. It's like 25 flats of
It
pansies,
was an investment.
and they all died. They all died. Yeah, every single one of them. And we realized, one, we were planting it too deep, so we said we'll try it again. So we bought another batch and we planted it. It was too hot. They basically all died too.
It's a dad.
It was getting expensive, but then I think the third time, by that time it was cooler weather too, so we just got it right. I don't know if it's 3 years or 3 times, but I can't remember if it was back, if we did it the same year 3 times. It took us 3 times to get it, a bunch of flats, or we did it 3 years. Like,
I think it was.
was it 1 year
I think
we did?
1 year we did at least 2. Then maybe that was spring, right? Or fall.
Yeah, no, fall, because we were trying to
and then
beat
maybe
the-
in the spring you figured out. So within
maybe
a couple-
1 year. Yeah.
How about when we first started out, we did all those boxes, and we actually made adobe box because our soil was so bad. We actually made adobe brick.
Yeah, we tried to make our own potting soil, and it ended up being
Adobe brick. We dump it out of the pots, and it was like adobe brick because we had
that
clay.
was pre chickens and ducks.
Yeah,
and
I mean, way back,
That was
like
one of
when
the
we started,
original
way
potting
25
soil,
years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah. It was literally, we made adobe brick because that's how bad the soil was until, then Dad built the soil up. I mean, that's...
Well, I think it was either a bad recipe or just bad soil.
So in a couple spots in the yard were about a foot higher than our neighbor.
No, he's more than that.
Oh,
in
and
the
now
corner.
we're more.
More?
way
In the
more.
corner over there, it's pretty bad.
It's like, what,
yeah.
2 feet?
It could be.
Wow.
Could be in the corner. It depends on the.
So
if you go up
does
front,
that say we're growing up in the world?
yeah, moving up in the world. Yeah, that was the joke.
Luckily, our house is, high.
Yeah, that was a joke that
Yeah, that was a little inside joke.
Growing
I
up
think
in
that
the
went
world.
on the.
I think it's on the Home Run Revolution. You said
They're
it.
moving
yeah.
up in the world.
Oh, you're moving up in the world.
Yeah.
We're a
Yeah,
foot and a half. Yeah.
We're a foot and a half higher than our
the
next
door
neighbor. Yeah, that corner over there is pretty high. So
And then
it could be
the
2
coop
feet.
the coop, it is like...
Oh, in the back? Yeah, this place.
The coop, it's like... It's a 7-foot wall or something. And
No, it's only 5.
and by the end of the summer, it's like
Only
you're
5.
looking over. It's like 5 foot. It's like, oh, sorry guys, we're gonna take it down. It's a 7-foot wall, but then by the end of summer, it's 5 feet, and you're like walking. And everybody's looking up at you, and you're walking on this fence. It's like, that's not a 7-foot fence. You're very tall. No, just the soil.
And then that's when we take it out. But
We take it out. We try to, but we actually have a lot of soil. I mean, to the point I think Dad was looking into selling it, but
never got that far.
Huh?
Never got that far.
yeah, we have a lot of soil. Because
People come
compost,
by
and it
for
just
it.
happens in a compost. I mean, I've given it to friends, but
You have
Every
to warn
year you
them.
have
You have to
more-
warn them.
Because we have seeds.
Because we have. You say be forewarned because you'll have all these.
interesting
Things-
volunteers
cheers
popping out
popping
through
out,
your
yeah.
yard because we don't sterilize the soil. And Dad loved when volunteers popped up. He was like, well, if you're growing there, we have lettuce that
No,
grows.
we still have the volunteer lettuce.
Yeah.
I literally said. I told Justin
We
we
have
should name
lettuce
it.
that grows in a crack in the middle of summer,
On the
in the
sidewalk.
heat, in
In
the
the sidewalk.
sidewalk. And you're like,
And it's the 5th year, I think. And I said, Justin, you should
That
save the
is
seed.
some
That one is special to us, and that one should.
that
be
one is some
safe.
acclimated lettuce. It's like, it grows in the crack. I mean, lettuce is a delicate, it likes cool weather. This one grows in the crack in the heat.
Yeah. We don't get a chance to save much seed because of some of its distance. They cross-pollinate. You need space, and otherwise they won't come true to seed. But there's several things that volunteer every year, or we'll save it. We have Christmas lima beans; those are ours. The lettuce out front, the celery, all the nasturtiums. All those nasturtiums come back every year. We don't do anything.
They
Well,
cross.
Travisina
They
squash.
cross.
No, because
That one crosses.
because if you're growing some other squash and it comes out, then it comes out to be funky. So
So that one might not be one. Right?
that might not be. That's from compost. You have to see what the flower set. The lamps. What's the purple goosefoot?
Oh, yeah.
That's ours.
Amaranth is ours.
Amaranth is ours. Lemon balm is ours.
Oh, the wild arugula and
New Zealand spinach.
The New Zealand spinach.
Yeah, once you have New Zealand spinach, you can't really
It's
get
funny
rid of
because I helped a friend with the garden, and I brought soil over, and she has 2 lettuces growing down the driveway, and she doesn't even water, and they're growing. I was like, that's all lettuce.
Yep, that's
And then she has New Zealand spinach growing like in the hottest part of her yard. I'm like, yeah, that's my baby.
You can't get rid of that stuff.
But see, that's area,
what we like.
That's area specific. That's your region, your.
It comes back
your seed for that year.
Yeah, it comes back every year. So some of the people's like, oh, what's that? How'd you plant that there? Or what's growing there? Nope, there's volunteers. So you walk around the whole yard and you could see stuff that we didn't even plant, like come back and grow. It's like, can't take credit for it because it just decided that was a good spot. And
Was that big eggplant in the corner? Was that a volunteer? I think
no,
you said?
that was ours, but it was 2 years old.
Oh,
It
yeah.
ended up being 2 years, but yeah. We actually have too much New Zealand spinach, Jerusalem artichokes, and nasturtiums. Yeah. Goosefoot, purple goosefoot.
We have nettle.
Oh,
Stinging nettle, yeah, that's, I mean, it's.
But
you can
actually a
use
sign
that.
of good nutrients in your soil.
Well, I think we made compost out of it, and it wasn't quite,
Fermented.
yeah. So you spread seeds around. So,
Every once in a while you walk into the yard and you're like, ow. Ow. Speaking of that, I do like nettle pesto. It's one of the best food ever I've eaten. Is you make pesto out of stingy nettle. And we do wild harvest. You want to do that, with caution, responsibly. Don't strip the hillsides. But every once in a while, we'll find a little patch of something and harvest it responsibly. But I really wanted this stingy nettle pesto because I love the taste of it. It's one of the best. Basil is good, but stingy nettle is better. So Nisi and I go out and find this patch.
But I had my arms covered. It was
And
weird.
she came prepared. She had the boots and the stuff.
long sleeves.
Long sleeves. And so she goes in, and I just hear it for this little patch. And things I can't repeat. And I put out the video, and she's just swearing up a storm. And it's just
I forgot my
but she got
legs.
it, and she was like, and it's it was. I was cracking up.
What'd she miss?
I
don't know.
It was either.
You're wearing sandals?
But she
I
came
forgot.
back with a bag, and
Yeah.
we ate it, and she was so proud. She fought for that one.
Yeah. Those are vicious, though.
Well, I'll be cutting the lettuce in the morning, and I'll be and then I don't see it because it's either.
It's like, ow.
Ow.
I did it the other day. I walked past, and
It's like, ow.
Yeah, I don't know why you let them grow, but.
That's
I
just-
like them. I
them.
like them. I like
Oh, the
stinging nettle.
sunflowers are ours, too.
I like
Oh,
the
yeah.
stinging nettle.
Sunflowers. The blackberries.
Oh, well, there's some Johnny Jump Ups that are coming up.
Oh, Johnny Jump Ups. The blackberries in the front.
The poppies. Lots
Poppies.
of stuff. So, all the poppies. All the wildflowers.
Yeah. New Zealand spinach, definitely New Zealand spinach.
What about the fennels and stuff?
New Zealand
fennels,
spinach might be original.
Could be.
It could be.
Could be.
I mean, the one that was in the corner there, that one might have been
It
there.
might. It might.
Because I don't think Dad ever bought New Zealand spinach again.
It might. It might.
I think he
It
bought
might
it
be.
once.
It might
I think
be.
he bought it once and he never got rid of it.
I think we thought we'd bring it back or something, and we might have bought 2 packages of seeds. But
Oh, lemon balm. Did you mention that?
yeah, I said lemon balm.
Yeah, so it's a lot of. I mean, you can. Oh, and propagate. We propagate the cuttings. You do a lot of cuttings.
Well, I don't have any space to put them.
Well, when we see something in the mountains or somebody else's yard, do we still have that grape? That Tuscan grape? Or whatever?
Yeah, there's
That
2
was a
over there,
cutting,
but
yeah.
That was a cutting from an exotic grape somebody brought over. What was that one?
Yeah, David brought a French. Forget the name of it.
Yeah, we do
It's
cuttings.
a wine grape.
So we
Not
see
a
something we like, and we're like, we're gonna have to get that. And you get a cutting from it. And we're pretty good at that.
Ish.
Ish.
Well, I mean, we're
Ish.
pretty good. Like I said, all of my friends' garden is just walking around sticking cuttings.
Oh no, yeah.
It's on the cheap.
Oh
you know?
yeah, the lion mane, and then that's ours. Yeah, amaranth, celery, just comes all over the place.
You do the blue basil cuttings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't sell. They're hard to find, so I have to cut. I have to
Yeah.
take cuttings. because they're harder. They're getting harder and harder to find.
Lamborghini, you've cut it off the original one that was planted.
Yeah, some of the varieties we used to grow years ago no longer available. So we try to keep some of them alive. Lazy way of doing it. But they do produce, one plant can produce a ton of seeds. So all you need is one or two, and then you're set.
Let's see. And then anything else?
What's coming up?
What's coming up? Hopefully your first tomato.
No, you can't.
Getting ahead of ourselves.
No. We got a
Well,
long
no,
way to
it
go.
makes you, when you eat in season, it makes you appreciate the first one.
We're about, I think I said that before, we're about a month behind.
Well, that's not your fault.
Easy.
It's not your fault.
Easy.
We do try. Well, you might want to. Speaking of forced tomato, it may not be all the time because sometimes we get busy, but we just have this belief that we try to give back what was given to us. So we call it the first fruits to harvest. So the first harvest is something like the first tomato. We don't eat it. We'll toss it back into the compost bin. We give it back to God, or whatever you believe God to be. Is just give it back to the land. We try to do that occasionally with eggs. So just take a couple and toss them into the compost. But we do it with the first fruits, like the first beans and the first stuff. We won't eat it. We just sit from the harvest, from the land. We take it and we give it back. And mostly you just toss it in the compost pile.
Yeah, it was more symbolic.
It's a symbolic thing. Like it's not ours to take. So it's like the first fruits. We toss it back into the land, even though it's beautiful and we all want that tomato. It's like, okay, no, it's the first fruit. Thank you, and give it back to the earth, the creator we call it. So it belongs to it's not ours. We just caretake. So we always considered ourselves caretakers and we're not the creators. We're just caretaking what is given to us.
Yeah, because if you look at it, the things will grow without
human
interference. The trick is getting the things to grow where you want it, when you want it, and how much you want it. That's the trick. But things will grow, and people have a bad definition of weeds or nature, but so people say, how do you do that? Some of it, like I said, we could just walk around the whole yard. You could say, didn't plant that, didn't plant that, didn't plant that, and just come up. But the hard part is you want it to grow here, this time, this place, and produce this amount. No,
good luck with
that's that's the hard part. Things will grow. Nature, it grows in nature. But,
nature takes care of itself.
Yeah, but if you want it to grow in this one bed or this one spot and produce this amount of fruit
at this time,
then you have an issue. But things will grow without any input of any kind of man interference. So just look out there and it's like, well, this happened. So, but the trick is trying to get it to grow where you want it.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Yeah.
When you want it.
We recognize that we are not in control.
Yeah.
And every time you think you're in control, you're in trouble. You think, oh, I got this. I have this.
Or tomato story. Yeah, just when you guarantee something that works.
Even with and for me, it's with the animals. I'll to this day, I'll say I have no idea. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know what's wrong with that animal. After all these years of raising, so sometimes people, I have often said, you can truly only understand something that you're involved in, particularly with animals, at the birth and death of an animal. Once you've gone through the death of that animal, you will understand a lot more. So some people, they get chickens, and like a year later, they're teaching classes. I said, have you seen them die? Oh no, I know everything about it. I was like, I don't know everything about it, but I understood a lot more at the death of an animal. It's like the cycle. You've gone through the whole cycle. Once I raised chickens. I thought I knew everything for the first time I raised chickens. I'm like, I got this. I got this. I got it. I'm check, but you mark the checkbox. That's crap. You don't know. You don't know. And then when the chickens died, then I realized I don't know everything.
But here's the thing: when you give the classes and people are there, and people call you up, oh, I have sick chicken. You know, they don't. You begin to understand how unaware people are. You say, what's their poop look like? I don't know.
How did you pick her up?
I
don't know.
I don't know.
When's the last time you saw her? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I'm like,
What's
I
she
can't
feel
help
like?
you.
I don't know. And it's like, and so whereas one time that person, or went to one of our chickens or something, and all he had to do was hold it, and I knew what was wrong with
it's
it.
like, okay, well.
I was like, I held it, felt it. Oh, I said, Jordy, this chicken has blah blah blah, and she's like, see if I'm right, and you felt it, and you said, yep, you're right. But nobody feels. Nobody
it's
observes.
just small signs.
Yeah.
But the thing is also do your homework.
Yeah,
Because
do your homework.
We've had horror stories. Get a phone call, said, I got, went to the pet store, bought a bunch of chickens. Now what? Now what do I do with them?
I'm driving home with them right now, and I just like on the phone. I just went, do you have, and I started listening. She's like, I don't know what to do. I'm just like, oh my, and I have this. I get when the animal is involved, I feel responsible. I can't just walk away, and that's unfortunately my weakness. So
there's a couple people that don't do their homework, and then they're like,
the
I
animal
just found.
pays for it.
Yeah, then I just found them, or I mean, not that you did anything with it, but people like, oh.
But yeah. So I guess I would just say, like with the garden, why we give the first fruits back to the land, and we try to humbly look around. It's not always realize that the only thing we know is we don't know. And I face that all the time with the animals, and Justin with the garden, and Dad always said this. Things you're always learning, you're always experiencing, you're constantly learning. I mean, you're an old timer. My dad has been gardening. He's been keeping bees since the 70s, and he still always was learning. And for us, we try to continue to experience that, and sometimes it's a little bit when you're around people and they're like, oh, I know, and they like think they know, and it's like, no, we're all still learning.
But here's some of it. What the issue is if you're doing, I'm not saying it's not the same thing, but if you're doing canning, you're in control for 99. I mean, you can't control some of the fruit quality.
Or a baker,
you're controlling 99%, 100% of what's your thing. In gardening or farming, a lot of it is out of your control.
And I think another thing,
and why many people don't want to do it.
Yeah, another thing,
because they can't control it.
No.
And that's what modern agriculture, monoculture.
Everything's 24/7.
Greenhouses, they want it everything
computerized,
size, shape, on time,
everything uniform,
and that's why nature isn't uniform sometimes. Nature's irregular.
Nature is in control.
The schedule's off. Definitely, the schedule's off. But
another thing is when you start living a more sustainable life or whatever, you start to be. I tell people you develop a sense. I don't know if it's a sixth sense or whatever, because I'll be sitting out with friends talking and and then I'll say, the weather changed, and they're like, what are you talking about? I was like, no, I could just feel the wind change, or I'll go out in the coop.
Wait, here's.
Yeah, or I'll go out in the coop, and there's this, I don't know, I can't describe it. It's a sense. And it's a sense that even you're not even aware, but somebody will tell you, go out and check, or go look at this, and whatever. And so I've gone out into the coop, and I've looked, and everything looks normal, but I'll just pick up something like, that one just, I'm sensing something.
Yeah, you can sense some, I don't know if it's a vibe or.
And if you had 100 people there, they'd say, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, I could just sense that one. And I call it, Jordy, let's check this one out. And sure enough, I don't know,
you can hear things, you can sense things, it's a vibe. I mean, even in the weather.
It just, you develop a more in tune sense. I think a lot of people a lot of people used to have it. I think we're born with it, but with modern technology and modern buffers, we don't have that. We're not able to develop that sixth sense that we are all born with. So when you start stripping things away and paying attention,
stripping all the smartphones away.
Yeah, and when you start, I mean, even to the point where I'm in a car and I said to the person, we're going the wrong way.
And she's like, no, the GPS.
I said, no, we're going the wrong way. The mountains are this way. We should be going, I know the sun. She's like, how do you know? I just know.
You could just know.
I just know.
I was riding in a car with a friend, and she was
like,
following GPS. I'm like,
way.
This way. And she was like, but I said, no, this way. And I've never been here before, but I'm like, this is the wrong direction. It's this way. And at the beach, David, he was going wrong, and I was like, and he's like, I was like, this way. But speaking of that sixth sense, I always go back to the story with what I think I realized the most was a friend of mine was like, she had animals, cats and dogs, and I went to go visit her at her house, and I walked past her cat sitting on the front porch, just sitting there, her pet cat, and I just walked past it. Then I stopped and I looked at this cat and I said, something wrong with your cat? She was like, no, it's fine. So I looked at the cat and I'm like, okay, I think something's wrong with your cat. And you look at the cat, it's just sitting there, looking, blinking around. I'm like, something is wrong with your cat. And she's like, no, he's been fine all day. He's looking great. And I just looked at that cat again, and then, okay, so I went about, and then I said it again. I said, you may want to check the cat out there. Something I think is wrong with its leg. And she's like, no, he's been perfectly fine. He's been sitting there all day. It's great. And, what am I going to do? Argue? So I left. Then she called me up later. And, a panic, because she finally went to go pick him up, and she's like, his leg's broken. He had been hit by a car, but he was just sitting there perfectly fine, not hard, like cats do, they hide everything. And it was just sitting there, and she's like, how'd you know? I said, there was something I saw in the way that his fur was. And I knew, so I said, something's wrong with his leg. And she's like, how did you know that? I said, just because, I don't know. The vibe, I don't quite know, but I think I saw something in the way the fur was, and I could just pick up that something was completely wrong.
No, something was off.
Yeah, something was off. And I didn't even know her cat. I just said, something's wrong with your cat.
So with anything, I think what if people say, how do I start? What do I do? Where I think, just observe. Just even observe. Take notes, be aware, and just pay attention. Because, when you pay attention, you're preventing, like even just looking at the chicken's poop in the morning just to see if everything looks okay, you're going to prevent serious issues just by a little, just an overlook, just not even 1 second, just say, okay, is everything good, before I roll up the newspapers and put the poop into the compost. I just make a little, I pass, and I'm like, okay, it looks good, roll it up. But if there's something wrong, like if there's one that I said, okay, who's purchased that? Okay, maybe we need to put more apple cider vinegar in the water or whatever.
And it does with the weather, because you could feel the temp, like when we get the freezes.
You say it's going to freeze tonight.
Justin's like, it's going to freeze tonight. People are like, how you know? He's like,
nope, it's going to freeze.
It's going to freeze tonight. Yeah. And he's like, he's out there covering the plants, and everybody's like, but the weather says it's on. He's like, it's going to freeze tonight.
Well, you've been here long enough.
Well, you can even the sound of the
freeway
changes.
The freeway changes, noise changes, thing changes.
The air sounds different.
We're talking about location or thing. When you've been here long enough, and the weather forecast says 40 degrees.
Justin's like,
we're 10 degrees colder in the backyard. Just
automatically.
You just put that in your mind after being here. It's a microclimate. The way the land slopes, there's a couple cold pockets, cold areas in the yard. It's gonna freeze. So just put the plastic up or put the row covers up. And that just takes. People don't want is they take time. Yeah. And why have it? Sometimes people ask us to consulting and stuff like that. It's kind of hard if you don't live there and see. We're doing, I think we talked about it before, sun angles, shade, sun angles in the summer, sun angles in the winter, trees cast shade, house cast shade. And that's hard. That's hard unless you've been there for 30 years and you know microclimates and cold pockets and dry. You can dry parts of the yard, wet parts of the yard. So, but you have to be there for a long period of time. Yeah. And fortunately, we've been here 30 years, and you can tweak things or move things around and then figure it out. But
I just
that
smile.
so much comes with experience.
When Justin says it's going to do something, and people, you can just see them checking the weather. He's like, it's going to rain, and you can see it, and it's like, Justin knows. I remember he was like walking. He's like, wait, something's changed, and my friend's like, what's she talking about? I was like, he knows. He knows. It's going to freeze, and they're like, but it says it's going to freeze. He's out there covering the plants.
The signs 40 degrees at 10 o'clock, and clear night, and you could just tell.
And the weather, and when the wind Justin's like, the wind's going to stop. it's going
No,
to
he
stop.
said no. He says, yeah, he goes, if the wind stops tonight, we're in trouble. It's going to
Yeah.
freeze.
The hardest part is like when it's a clear, cold night and the wind's blowing. You say, "You okay? You're okay." Then the wind stops. 2 o'clock in the morning.
Everything's
You're
dead.
not okay.
It blows all the covers off. Toasted. Freeze dried.
Ice.
Yeah, ice. That's it.
Can we interest you in any freeze-burned
Yeah, freezer
greens?
burn, yeah. So
No.
that's the hard part.
And then
Like,
Justin's up before the morning watering everything.
Ice cold.
But no,
You
so
water
if
it
you- if
to
you-
break the ice.
I think it's partly because we're raised without air conditioning.
We know.
You can sense temperature change. Like, I mean, it's be like 5 degrees, and you can tell it's warmer. Just really weird. It's like warmer today, or warmer this morning, and
Even time. They'll say, what time is it? I'll say, oh, it's about.
yeah, you get to that
It's like-
sunset thing,
Mhm.
sunrise like that. But I think some of it, because of being raised without AC, you can sense, oh, it's colder today, or hotter today. It's just a couple degrees, but if you're paying attention, you can sense that. And if I wear long pants, it's really cold. So that's-
If Justin's
Sign
wearing
of
long
the
pants
times.
and shoes,
And
the
socks,
apocalypse has
yeah.
happened.
that means it's cold.
Somebody
folks.
saw him in pants and shoes, and they just said, "Wow, it's cold." I was like,
cold,
"Yes, it's cold."
The 2 or 3 times a year I wear,
It's a sight.
yeah, that means it's cold.
Otherwise, he's always in sandals and shorts. I think somebody commented on it. It's like, Justin's wearing pants and shoes.
I
I
think
said,
that was
yes,
a
you
fa-
know it's
I
officially
think that
cold.
was a Facebook post. It's cold since it's got long pants on. Yeah, that was pretty bad. It's California.
Let's go down to the Urban Homestead, Pasadena by the freeway. Right down there on the Urban Homestead, Jules and his family are working away. Come on down to the farm in the city, back to the future, back to the plan. Right down there on the Urban Homestead, loving the life back into the land. Oh, 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 help the garden grow, singing. Oh, 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 we've got to help the garden grow.
The Urban Homestead theme song was written and recorded by Tom Fair. Thanks, Tom. We've come to the end of this show.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Be sure to tune in again. Until next time,
This is Anais.
Justin.
Jordanne, keep on growing.
Oh,